Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, today I want to talk about something powerful, something urgent, something that heaven itself is crying out to us in this hour. The chosen one, stop doing this, for God knows. You see, there is nothing hidden from the eyes of the Almighty. The same God who formed you in your mother's womb, who called you by name before you ever breathed your first breath. He sees you, He knows you, and He has chosen you. But hear me, beloved, when God chooses, He also calls us higher. He calls us out of compromise, out of darkness, out of the very things we think are hidden. Because what man may overlook, God never misses. This is not just about what you do in public, it's about who you are in secret. The Lord is saying, stop doing the things that break my heart. Stop walking in what I did not choose for you, because I have chosen you for more. And my friends, if this message has stirred something inside of you, if you know deep down that you are chosen, then don't let it stop here. Stay connected, follow this channel, because every word you hear can be a seed that transforms your life. Subscribe today, not just to a channel, but to a journey of walking closer with God. And I want you to comment 99 below, because Jesus said He leaves the 99 to go after the one. That 01 could be you, and it could be the sign of your breakthrough. Let 99 be your declaration that you are not forgotten, you are not forsaken, you are chosen, and you are stepping into your destiny. You are chosen, not forgotten. This truth is one of the most powerful revelations you can ever carry in your heart. To know that the God of heaven and earth, the creator of all things, has placed His hand upon you and marked you as His own is a reality that can shift your entire perspective on life. It means you are not an accident, not a mistake, not just another face lost in the crowd. You are chosen. The enemy may whisper lies that you are overlooked, abandoned, or insignificant, but those lies collapse in the light of God's truth. When He says you are chosen, it means He deliberately, intentionally, and lovingly called you out, set you apart, and declared purpose over your life. Many walk through life feeling invisible, believing no one sees them, no one values them, no one remembers their struggles or victories. But the Word of God says differently. He tells us that He has engraved us on the palms of His hands, that before we were formed in the womb, He knew us, that every hair on our head is numbered. Being chosen is not about being the strongest, the smartest, or the most impressive in human eyes. It is about God's divine election, His sovereign love, His unstoppable plan. He has chosen you because He has a destiny in mind that only you can fulfill. Think of David, the shepherd boy. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint a king, David wasn't even invited to the gathering. His own father overlooked him, his brothers dismissed him, but God had chosen him. Man looked at the outward appearance, but God looked at the heart. That is the reality of being chosen. Even when people forget you, ignore you, or underestimate you, God never does. He sees what others cannot see. He calls forth the treasure hidden in earthen vessels. He calls out the king from the shepherd, the leader from the overlooked, the warrior from the weak. To be chosen means you are set apart for something greater than yourself. It means that every trial you've endured, every valley you've walked through, every tear you've cried has not been wasted. They are all part of the preparation for the calling placed upon your life. Chosen ones often go through seasons of obscurity where it feels like no one notices, where prayers seem unanswered, where doors remain shut. But in reality, those seasons are shaping, molding, and refining you for the day when your purpose will be revealed. Just as Joseph was chosen, yet betrayed by his brothers, sold as a slave, and thrown into prison, the process of being chosen sometimes comes with pain. But in the end, God's hand lifts His chosen ones into the place of destiny. You are chosen, not forgotten. Though the world may cast you aside, though people may overlook your worth, though the enemy may try to convince you otherwise, the truth stands unshaken. God has chosen you with a love that is everlasting, with a plan that is unstoppable, and with a calling that is eternal. God sees what is hidden. This is a sobering yet liberating truth, one that reminds us that nothing escapes the eyes of the Almighty. Human beings can be deceived by appearances, by outward behavior, by the mask we put on to appear perfect or righteous, but God looks deeper. He searches the heart, He examines the motives, and He knows the thoughts before they are even formed on our lips. To walk with this awareness is to live in the reality that our lives are fully transparent before Him. The hidden actions, the secret thoughts, the things we think no one will ever know, all of it is seen clearly by the one who sits on the throne of heaven. This truth cuts in two directions. On one hand, it is a warning. Nothing you hide is truly hidden. You may conceal sin from your family, your church, your friends, but you cannot conceal it from God. He sees the late night compromise, the hidden pride, the quiet bitterness, the unspoken unbelief. He sees what is buried deep within and what you try to keep locked away. The scriptures remind us that all will be brought into the light, that there is nothing covered that will not be revealed. This is why God calls us to holiness, not only in action, but in the secret places of the heart. It is not enough to look righteous. We must be righteous before Him who sees all. On the other hand, this truth is also a comfort. God sees not only the hidden faults, but also the hidden faithfulness. He sees the prayers you whisper in silence, the tears you shed in your closet, the sacrifices no one else knows about, the acts of obedience that never make it into the spotlight. He sees when you choose to forgive in your heart, even though no one applauds. He sees when you resist temptation, though no one else is watching. He sees when you give out of your lack, when you love without recognition, when you serve in obscurity. The God who sees in secret promises to reward openly. This reality transforms how we live. It removes the need for human approval and recognition because we know that our Father in heaven sees all. We can let go of striving to prove ourselves to people because the one who truly matters already knows. He knows when we are weary yet pressing on. He knows the battles we fight that others cannot understand. He knows the burdens we carry silently. Nothing is overlooked by Him. This gives strength to endure because every hidden struggle is witnessed. Every hidden victory is celebrated in heaven. The truth that God sees what is hidden is both a call to purity and an encouragement to perseverance. It challenges us to examine our hearts, to surrender the secret places, to walk in integrity, not just in public, but in private. It also lifts us up when we feel invisible, reminding us that the God who watches over the sparrows and numbers the hairs of our head sees us too. Even when others forget, even when our labor seems unnoticed, the eyes of the Lord are upon us. Stop compromising your calling. Every believer has been placed on this earth for a divine purpose, a destiny that was written by God before the foundation of the world. But too often, the power of that calling is diminished because of compromise. Compromise may appear harmless at first, a small decision to please people, a slight bending of the truth, a subtle allowance of sin, but over time weakens the very foundation of the life God has called you to build. The enemy cannot erase your calling, but he will work tirelessly to lure you into compromise so that you will lay it down yourself. Compromise is dangerous because it doesn't usually announce itself as rebellion. It comes dressed in convenience, in excuses, in cultural acceptance. It whispers, just this once, no one will notice, or everyone else is doing it. It's not a big deal. But every compromise is a trade exchanging eternal purpose for temporary pleasure, divine destiny for human approval. spiritual strength for momentary ease. Esau compromised his birthright for a single meal. Samson compromised his vow for a relationship that destroyed him. Judas compromised his discipleship for a handful of silver. Each one had a calling, yet each one surrendered it because they allowed compromise to take root. Your calling is too valuable to be bargained away. God has set you apart, anointed you for a mission, and equipped you with gifts that the world desperately needs. When you compromise, you not only shortchange yourself, but also the lives connected to your obedience. The enemy understands this, which is why his greatest strategy is not always to make you deny your calling outright, but to tempt you into diluting it until it no longer carries power. He knows a compromised believer is a silent believer, and a silent believer cannot transform the world. Compromise often begins in the hidden places of the heart. It is not always in the dramatic failures, but in the quiet decisions. Choosing entertainment that poisons the spirit, keeping company that pulls you away from God, tolerating attitudes that quench the spirit. Every compromise moves you one step further from the fire of your calling, but every stand you take, every decision to remain faithful strengthens the foundation of what God has entrusted to you. The cost of refusing compromise may seem high. It may mean being misunderstood, rejected, or left behind by those who choose the easier path. It may require discipline, sacrifice, and courage, but the reward far outweighs the cost. When you refuse to compromise, you walk in authority, you carry purity of spirit, and you remain aligned with the power of God's purpose for your life. You may not be applauded by men, but heaven takes notice. You may not gain the approval of the crowd, but you stand approved before the throne of God. Stop compromising your calling. Every time you are tempted to lower your standard, remember who chose you, who anointed you, and who called you by name. The God who placed his spirit within you did not create you to live half-hearted or lukewarm. He created you to shine, to walk boldly, and to fulfill the mission that only you can fulfill. Secret obedience brings open blessing. What you do in the hidden places of your life has the power to shape what God does in the open. Many desire the blessings of God, the favor of heaven, and the breakthroughs that are visible to all, but few understand that those public blessings are often born out of private obedience. It is in the unseen moments when no one is watching that the foundation of your destiny is laid. The prayers whispered in silence, the sacrifices made without recognition, the choices to walk in righteousness when temptation presses hard, these are the acts of obedience that heaven records and rewards. The words of Jesus in Matthew declare that when you give in secret, your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. When you pray in the hidden place, when you fast without announcing it, when you choose humility rather than recognition, God sees it all. His promise is that what is done in secret will not remain hidden forever. In due time, it will manifest in blessing, in favor, in breakthroughs that cannot be explained by human effort alone. This is not about earning God's love, for his love is already complete, but about walking in alignment with his will so that his promises can flow unhindered into your life. Secret obedience is powerful because it proves the authenticity of your devotion. Anyone can act holy in front of a crowd, but it takes true surrender to live holy when only God sees. The test of integrity is not what you do in the spotlight, but what you do in the shadows. Do you still honor God when there is no applause? Do you still resist temptation when there is no one to hold you accountable? Do you still serve faithfully when there is no recognition? Every yes to God in private builds spiritual strength, and that strength manifests as blessing in public. Think of Daniel, who prayed 3 times a day, not to be seen by men, but because his heart was committed to God. His secret obedience prepared the way for open deliverance when he was thrown into the lion's den. Think of Joseph, who resisted the advances of Potiphar's wife in private. That hidden act of obedience preserved his destiny and positioned him to one day rule openly over Egypt. Their stories show us that God never overlooks the choices we make when no one is watching. He uses those private victories to elevate us into positions of influence and blessing. Secret obedience also protects us from pride. If everything we did was instantly rewarded in public, our hearts would be quick to take credit. But when God asks us to obey in secret, it keeps us dependent on Him, trusting Him to bring the reward in His time and in His way. It teaches us that obedience is not about recognition, but about relationship. It shifts our focus from pleasing people to pleasing God alone. The blessings that are seen by others are almost always the result of battles won in private. When you choose obedience in the hidden places, you invite God to release favor in the open. It may not happen instantly, but it will happen because He is faithful to honor those who honor Him. Destiny requires discipline. Every person has been created with a divine purpose, a calling that is unique and significant, but stepping into that destiny is not automatic. It requires intentional choices, consistent habits, and the strength to say no to what is easy so you can say yes to what is eternal. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where God is taking you. Without it, the vision remains only a dream. With it, the vision becomes reality. Discipline is not about restriction, it is about preparation. Just as an athlete trains the body through repetition and perseverance, so must the believer train the spirit through prayer, fasting, worship, and obedience. Paul compared the Christian life to running a race, reminding us that everyone runs, but only those who exercise discipline receive the prize. He said he did not run aimlessly or fight like someone beating the air, but he disciplined his body and brought it under control so that he would not be disqualified. In the same way, destiny requires you to live with focus, to guard your time, to master your appetites, and to keep your heart fixed on the goal that God has set before you. Discipline is not glamorous, and often it feels costly. Waking up early to pray, studying the Word when distractions call louder, walking away from habits that weaken your spirit. These choices may seem small in the moment, but they accumulate into strength. Every disciplined choice builds spiritual muscle, and that strength is what sustains you when the weight of destiny rests on your shoulders. Those who lack discipline may start strong, but they rarely finish well. It is discipline that keeps you steady when emotions fluctuate and circumstances change. The lives of great men and women of faith demonstrate this principle. Joseph endured years of discipline in prison before stepping into his destiny as ruler of Egypt. Moses spent decades in the wilderness learning obedience before leading Israel out of bondage. Even Jesus practiced discipline, rising early to pray, fasting in the desert, and walking in obedience to the Father in every detail. Each of them shows that destiny is not granted to the careless, but entrusted to those who have proven faithful in discipline. Discipline also means protecting your mind and spirit from influences that could derail your purpose. Not every conversation, not every friendship, not every opportunity aligns with your destiny. Discipline teaches you discernment, the ability to say no to good things so you can say yes to God's best. It is refusing to compromise your values, refusing to waste time, refusing to let your emotions dictate your choices. Discipline keeps your eyes fixed on the eternal prize when temporary distractions fight for your attention. Destiny requires discipline because without it, the weight of calling will crush instead of elevate. The greater the destiny, the greater the demand for discipline. It is not punishment, but preparation, shaping you into a vessel strong enough to carry the purpose God has designed. When you embrace discipline, you align your life with the order of heaven, and in that alignment, you find the strength to walk fully into everything you were created to be. God's choice demands your response. When the creator of the universe places his hand upon your life, when he calls you out of the shadows and declares that you are chosen, it is not a casual invitation. It is a summons, a call that demands action, a divine declaration that requires a human response. God does not choose without purpose, and he does not call without expecting obedience. His choice is his sovereign act, but your response is the key that unlocks the fulfillment of what he has spoken. Throughout Scripture, we see the pattern repeated again and again. Abraham was chosen to be the father of nations, but he had to leave his homeland in obedience to God's voice. Moses was chosen to deliver Israel, but he had to confront Pharaoh in faith despite his fear. Mary was chosen to carry the Messiah, but she had to respond with surrender, saying, "Be it unto me according to your word." God's choice alone was not enough to manifest destiny. It was the willing response of his chosen ones that brought the divine plan into reality. To be chosen is a great honor, but it also comes with great responsibility. It means you can no longer live as if your life belongs to you. It means your choices must align with the one who called you. It means surrendering your will, your plans, your desires, and even your fears into his hands. Many people miss their destiny not because they were not chosen, but because they refused to respond. They ignored the call, delayed their obedience, or allowed fear and doubt to silence their faith. The tragedy is not that they were overlooked, but that they never answered. Your response may not always be easy, and it may not always make sense. God's instructions often stretch beyond human understanding. Noah was chosen to build an ark long before rain had ever fallen from the sky. Gideon was chosen to lead an army of 300 men against thousands of enemies. Each had to make a choice to respond in obedience or to shrink back in fear. Their response determined their legacy. The same is true for you. God has already chosen you, but what you do with that choice is in your hands. Responding to God's choice requires faith. It requires stepping out even when the path is unclear, trusting his voice even when the circumstances seem impossible. It requires letting go of excuses and stepping past limitations. You may feel unqualified, inadequate, or unworthy, but God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Your responsibility is not to figure out every detail, but to respond with obedience. God's choice demands your response because his plan involves partnership. He chooses, he empowers, he equips, but he will not override your will. He invites you into the story, but you must say yes. That yes is the turning point, the place where destiny begins to unfold, where ordinary lives become extraordinary, and where heaven's plan intersects with your obedience.